Alrighty, let's begin our new unit. Unit 15 and lesson 15.1, page 674 and 675 in your Big Ideas book. And as you can see, we're going to continue talking solids, volume. We let up our last two lessons of our previous unit were on volume, and we're going to continue with that, and we're going to head into similar solids. And today, we are going to use the formula. Well, every single lesson we've had with surface area and volume has dealt with a formula. So we're going to use a formula to find the volume of a cylinder. All right? So you might want to have your reference sheet out because it does have the formulas for geometric solids on it. And you can use it and see how it applies to what we're talking about today. Our essential question: how can you find the volume of a cylinder? Wow, that's a tough one. And we're going to figure that out here pretty dang darn quickly. So ladies and gentlemen, you were asked to take notes on volume of a cylinder, and from the top of page 674 from the key idea, and hopefully you did. Hopefully you wrote down that to find the volume of a cylinder, you multiply the area of the base times the height, and that you wrote the formula. Volume is equal to area of the base times the height, right? And hopefully you drew a picture of a cylinder and that you labeled the key parts. So you'd have had something similar to this written down in your own words, in your own way, so that you can remember and it works for you. And you recognize volume equals area of the base times the height. Well, wait a minute, Mr. Ross. Mr. Ross. Wait. Didn't we use that when we found the volume of a prism? Yes, we did. Yes, we did. And the important thing is, if you remember back from our previous unit, is that I said, once you know you have to find the volume, and you recognize that it's a cylinder, and you know that volume is equal to area of the base times the height, the first thing you have to do is identify the base. And since the base is a circle, we're now going to find the area of a circle versus the area of a rectangle. So volume equals area of the base times the height. That capital B is the area of a circle. And then the height, of course, the height is perpendicular to the base. Remember, height is perpendicular to the base. That's what makes everything work. So if you're looking at your reference sheet, you will recognize that for a right cylinder, why do they call it a right cylinder? They call it a right cylinder, and that is because the height is perpendicular to the base. All right? So you look at the formula they gave you. They said pi times the radius squared times the height. Well, hello. What is the formula for area of a circle? That's right. It's pi times the radius squared. So when you write volume equals area of the base times the height, you say, hey, I have a circle, so that's pi times the radius squared times the height. All right, so let's just get busy. We're just going to use that formula just like it said as we started out. All right, moving right along. Finding the volume of a cylinder. Find the volume of the cylinder, round to the nearest tenth. All right, so in this particular case, we see it's a cylinder, so we're going to use volume equals area of the base times the height. All right? And the base happens to be a circle, so we're going to go pi times the radius squared. And the radius happens to be 7. So I'm going to go 3.14 times 7 squared. How awesome is it they gave us the radius? Times the height. Well, the height is 3. And now when we do the math, we just multiply. Now 7 squared is 49. And 49 times 3 is 147. So I'm going to write the answer two different ways. 49 times 3 is 147. And I can put this in terms of pi and say that's 147. Pi, units are inches. We're talking volume, so it's cubed. That's one answer. Or we can do the whole entire thing. 3.14 times 49 times 3, and when we get 461.58 inches cubed. Well, since it said round to the nearest tenth, we would turn that into 461.6 inches cubed. So that would be our definite final answer if we round to the nearest tenth. So if they ask you to put it in terms of pi, remember, you multiply everything except for 3.14, and you write it in terms of pi. Moving right along, again, we're going to find the volume of this cylinder, rounding to the nearest tenth. Volume is equal to area of the base times the height. So the first thing we got to do is recognize Oh, I didn't do this in the last one. Our base is a circle. I highlight my base. Remember. And so we know that the circle is pi times the radius squared. We recognize that once again, they're nice. They gave us the radius. So I have 3.14 times the radius, which is 2. Square that. And then our height right here, the distance between the two bases, the two opposite, parallel, congruent faces that we call bases, and the height happens to be 9. Once again, if I multiply all the numbers except for pi, if I multiply 2 squared, which is 4, times 9, that's 36. And I can write that in terms of pi, saying 36 pi, and that's meters cubed. Or, if I multiply it all out, 36 times 3.14 is 113.04, and we're just going to call it 113 meters cubed, rounding to the nearest tenth. All right? Moving right along, it's all more of the same stuff. And here we have the volume of another cylinder. And we know that volume is equal to area of the base times the height. We recognize that we have a circular base on our cylinder. And so we're going to go pi times the radius squared. And we look over here. Ooh, dang. This time they gave us the diameter. The distance all the way across the circle passing through the center. And we know that radius is equal to diameter divided by 2. So 18 divided by 2, our radius is 9. So we come over here, 3.14 times 9 squared. And we're going to multiply that by the height. Ooh, the distance between the two bases is 9. So the height is 9. And then we do our math. Once again, 9 squared is 81. And 81 times 9 is 729. So I can write 729 pi, and again it's meters. So pi meters cubed, if I wrote it in terms of pi. Or, if I do all the math and multiply all the numbers, I get 2,289.06, rounding to the nearest tenth, 2,289.1 meters cubed. All right? Let's do one more example before we go on to our first quick write of the night. Find the volume of a cylinder with a diameter of 5 inches and a height of 7 inches, round to the nearest tenth. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you understand that volume is equal to area of the base times the height. It tells you it's a cylinder. That means that the area of the base for a cylinder we know is a circle, pi times the radius squared. Multiply that by the height. Now, if it helps out, you may want to draw a picture. You may just want to draw some picture and say, oh, it's giving me diameter. So I draw the diameter and I say that this is 5 inches. And then I've got the height here as 7. If that helps you, draw a picture. And then you can highlight the base and you can say, hey, that's 3.14 times the radius. Oops, I've got a diameter shown. So radius is equal to diameter divided by 2, which is 5 divided by 2, which is 2.5. So we're going to go 2.5 squared. And then we're going to multiply by the height. And the height in this particular case is 7. And once again, multiplying 2.5 squared times 7 would give us an answer of 43.75, rounding to the nearest tenth, that's 43.8 pi times, pi inches cubed, if I wrote it in terms of pi. Remember, writing our answer in terms of pi. Or, if I multiply the whole darn thing out, I get 137.375, rounding to the nearest tenth, that's 137.4, and again, inches cubed. Okay? So either one of these is acceptable. We're multiplying both, leaving it one in terms of pi, the other as the full answer. So you have to read the directions. Sometimes it will ask you, hey, write your answer in terms of pi. And so bingo, there we go. All right, so we're done with our examples. Let's go to our first quick write. Find the volume of the cylinder. You may want to draw a quick picture of this cylinder and label the appropriate dimensions that it's given us, recognizing that this is a point from the center of the base to the edge of the circle. So what measurement is that 3 feet? when you're doing your math. Ladies and gentlemen, when you're done, take a quick break, get a snack, take a drink, come on back and join us for our second video.